not a story I like to share very often, but it was a long time ago. And yeah, to fight with like Uncle Bob for a spot, you know, but they're there with like crews of people and.
Or by yourself.
Yeah.
That he never gives up.
Right, it should be
Right.
lower.
Hit the record button first, right? Okay, hi, Davina, Daniel, Kudish. Both of you ended up in the top 5 of the Masters of Wedding Photography.
Oh boy, what a question. Wow. Okay. That's where we're jumping right into it, huh? What do you think?
I don't know. I think maybe over the years just really learned to curate our photography, like both when we're shooting and what we're presenting, and try to, you know, really make it stand out. Like what people see, you know, on our website is such a small percentage of what we shoot. Not to say that everything else is terrible, but you know, we do that with the mindset of trying to make ourselves stand out as much as possible, and the images that we put up have to be, you know, that extra special for them to attract the right clients for us.
Yeah, and I think along those same lines, we've constantly to just refine what we're doing and kind of follow the vision that we had and just see it all the way through and keep perfecting it and it over the years. And, you know, we built up this great client base that just every year, just people who really believed in what we were doing and who were willing to put their faith in us. And the more we did that, the more we're really, you know, had the perfect combination of weddings and clients and locations, you know, combined with what we're able to offer. So I think that's what's allowed us to have this portfolio that we're now very proud of. And
Yeah, sure. Okay, so is there a way how you could describe your images, your work, your style?
Yeah, so it definitely has like a documentary approach to it. We're not journalists, like we don't, you know, we do intervene in certain moments during the day, but at the core of our photography, we definitely try to have a documentary approach. We let happen and we don't interfere. And then we play a lot with light to create dramatic image, you know, whenever possible, and infuse creativity in conjunction with documentary.
I think I would just to tweak something that Dan said, we don't like interfere with moments. That's like, he said that and I was like, oh, not interfere with moments. But we do definitely get involved in terms of proper positioning. And, you know, we'll try to, if we can go to rehearsals and, you know, if their ceremony locations are able to be flexible, we'll give our opinion. So we get involved from that point of view. I'll move a Kleenex box if it's in the way, you know, I'll refine the scene to make it more beautiful, just something that, you know, in photojournalism you wouldn't do. And I think we talk a lot about the difference between us and photojournalists because we don't want to pretend like we are something or not. We are wedding photographers. So we are trying to make the most beautiful images possible. So, you know, we do, from that point of view, get involved.
Mm-hmm.
I would call our work creative documentary. It's, you know, documentary based. We're moment driven. We're looking for connection, but we're also trying to infuse some creativity when it's appropriate, to add variety and just to give our clients some more interesting photos as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you. Hey, to get to know you guys a little bit better, I want to go rapid fire with you. Just some quick questions. You need to answer it short. Because it's I'm here with the both of you guys. Now it might be nice if you answer for the other one. So I want to start with you, Daniel. What's Davina's favorite way to spend an off wedding weekend?
Go hiking in the nature or do something outdoors for sure. As a family, everybody together.
By myself.
Or by yourself.
Okay. So, Davina, what's Daniel's favorite breakfast?
Gosh, something big with a lot of stuff, with a poached egg on top.
Daniel, what do you like most about Davina?
Oh.
She has a deep emotional and empathetic inside, like not inside, but heart. And it just makes, once you get to know her better and you spend a lot of time with her, you just grow as a person. And that's definitely been my favorite thing with the time we've been together.
That's pretty nice.
Wow. Okay. Well, Davina, what do you hate most about Daniel?
Oh, good. Phew. I'm glad it wasn't a compliment that I had to give him. Just kidding. That it's hard for him to disconnect from work at times. Not at times, pretty much all the time. I know he works on it, but it's difficult sometimes.
Yeah, I can imagine. So, Daniel, what's Davina's favorite drink?
I mean, it depends on the situation, but like, so vodka tonic will be like the go-to, like, can't fail, or a gin and tonic. But I think she loves a good margarita too, like in the sun, just relaxing. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, he nailed it.
Yeah. All right, Davina, here he goes. What do you love most about Daniel?
I love that he's just always going to keep trying at something, and he's always going to give everything he does his all, whether that's work related or it's commitment to our family or commitment to our marriage or to our work. He's always all in, and even though he seems like quiet on the outside, it comes from like a really warm place inside him that not everybody gets to see, but that I get to see, and I appreciate that.
Nice.
It's like couples therapy.
So another one for you, Davina. What's Daniel's biggest strength as a photographer?
That he never gives up. Yeah, he's going to keep trying, and even when I feel like, okay, we tried, it's time to move on, he's always going to keep going. I'm convinced that that's why he is as good a photographer as he is, and why he's been so successful through different awards and different organizations, is because he just pushes his images.
Yeah. Okay, so what kind of light does Davina prefer the most, hard or soft light?
Hard, natural, I think would be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hard, natural light. Okay, so what photography equipment has Daniel lost somewhere at a wedding?
Well, the most important thing was a memory card.
No.
He found it, but this was a very long time ago. Like, we're talking like probably 10 years ago. But yeah, he used to take the cards out and put them in his little pouch on his belt, and it opened up and he lost one of the cards, and a guest found it. But that was, not a story I like to share very often, but it was a long time ago. And yeah, that's definitely the most valuable thing he's ever lost. But it has a happy end. You should ask him what equipment I've broken. That's the good question.
All right. Well, so what's Davina's biggest strength as a photographer?
I think she's able to see, creative possibilities in places where most people don't. And that includes me as well. She'll often come up with ideas and shots that, no one else would have seen. I definitely think it's true. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice. Okay, so for the next few questions, you either raise your hand or you point towards the other. Okay.
Okay. This is fun.
So who's the better salesperson? So who's better at editing images?
What?
Don't think too much.
Yeah.
Nice, Davina. All right. So who's better at working with Flash? And who's better at comforting the bride when she is stressed? Yeah. And who's better at neglecting bridezillas? Definitely.
Hand in hand. Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. All right. Let's go to the first of your favorite images, which is a nice mountain shot. Is that image taken close to you guys?
Not quite. It's like a 6-hour flight away. Yeah, Canada is big, so we're on the more on the East Coast, and this is Coast.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me, why is this image special to you?
So I actually, you know, this is not necessarily my favorite image. I think that I like it and want to talk about it because it's a good example of the kinds of situations that we'll deal with when we're doing destination weddings and trying to incorporate the environment. You know, this was kind of middle-ish of the day, so, you know, it's not sunset. There's tons of tourists here. So, you know, the way for us to deal with these kinds of challenges, and I know it's interesting to say challenges because it's such a beautiful location, but, you know, the challenges still are present. So in this case, it's just to expose for the highlights, something we do a lot, and then see, you know, what's left when I expose for the highlights. And that gives us a nice opening for the couple to go stand there. And then the next challenge was, you know, all of these other tourists that are, if you can imagine, on each side of the couple along the water. So I have this little compact mirror that I carry in my pocket. I have like a few little things. I used to be really against bringing like props, stuff like that. That's back when I think I thought I was a photojournalist, and then I realized that I was a wedding photographer and I could do whatever I wanted if I wanted to bring little things in my pocket. So I kind of liberated myself from that self-imposed burden. And yeah, carry a little fanny pack. It's not very stylish, but it's very practical. And I call it my bag of tricks. So my little compact mirror, in this case, I just folded it, you know, so it was in a V shape, and play with it until, you know, I could reflect some of the trees, I could reflect the mountains. And so it makes the image more creative, but it also, you know, cuts out all of the tourists, which was one of the challenges that we were faced with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Usually, you when you see images like that, like this, I think most of the tricks are used to create more awesome images, or sometimes being used as gimmicks also. But like in this way, it's a useful thing as well, right? To block everything out. Yeah.
That's a really good point. The idea of using these little, you know, prisms or reflections as gimmicks, and I think it's easy to fall into that. And I'm not saying that I'm immune to that. I certainly use it in a gimmicky way as well. But I think when I'm most excited is when I can use these things to help me and to, you know, cut out help me with some of those challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So you guys have your own presets also at develop.com, which is pretty awesome to start with. But can you tell me something about what the difference is between Develop presets and other Lightroom presets?
Yeah, the main thing that Develop did is they, you know, did color profiles for most camera models. So, you know, when you apply a preset on a Nikon camera and then you apply it to a Canon camera, it's going to look the same way. The preset is going to act the same way because it's been calibrated for all the different camera models, and they keep adding new ones, you know, as new cameras are released. So that's definitely one of the main features. And then, you know, just having presets from all these different great photographers and the ability to mix and match and come up with your own recipes and experiment. I think that's a, you know, beautiful part of photography in general. And those presets just kind of become an extension of that. Okay.
So can you tell me a little bit about the process, how to create these presets for you?
You mean what it was like for us to create those presets?
Yeah, how you worked with Develop to create these presets.
Yeah, so we really looked at our work and, you know, try to not so much define the look, but look at the most common situations that we come across and how we translate that into the editing. For us, the editing is always an extension of how we photograph, and we try to just accentuate what was already there. We don't try to create anything that's non-existent. Mm-hmm. And so we really focused on, you know, presets that would work in natural light or in candlelit environments, which we work with a lot, or for, you know, deep blue skies, you know, all the situations that we come across the most. Mm-hmm. That's what we wanted to put into the presets as well.
So the kind of editing that we'll do on an environmental photo, like we're just looking at, will be, you know, we can get away with pushing things a little bit more because we don't have any skin tones, you know, there's no close-up, there's no skin there. So, you know, we're really able to push the the depth of the image a little bit more versus, you know, a starting point for an image that will be, you know, more of a headshot or something like that. You don't want to go as harsh. The kinds of things that you want to do in a very moody candlelit dinner situation versus, you know, window light, you know, so it's all of these different situations that we really went through the portfolio and thought, you know, what situations are we shooting in and what, you know, as a result, how do we want those images to be edited? And we created the presets based on all these different situations.
Okay,
It's actually
cool.
really fun to do.
Yeah, and they just analyzed all your photos and yeah, developed presets from them.
So we actually made them ourselves. Obviously, we run the image salon, so we have a lot of experience, you know, creating presets. We worked together on some of the technical stuff, but since we knew how to create our own, we made them based off of, you know, our portfolio and our style of editing, and then just fine-tune them together to create the final product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was like part of my next question, that you guys have the image salon, but most of us probably know as a post-production company. Like, do you also use those developed presets there, and can you like create personal styles for every photographer?
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, part of our core business is working one-on-one with photographers. So they get their own assigned editor who, you know, they get to form a relationship with. And through that, they get to refine their editing style and really match exactly what they want. And yeah, we'll create presets, you know, for our clients, or we'll use developed presets or other, you know, presets that are out there. We're really flexible when it comes to that.
Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. So let's take a look at your next favorite image that you sent me.
Yeah. So
which is an emotional one.
Yeah.
Right?
It is, yeah. So we like this image for a couple of reasons. On a technical level, this kind of moment is so hard to photograph. Like, you have to plan your exact step before this moment happens and know exactly where you're going to move to get out of the way and to be placed in the right moment and make sure your settings are good and your light is good. It's just very, very technical. And it happens so quickly, so you have to be extra prepared. And so when everything comes together like this, it feels extra rewarding because you've been preparing for it.
Your entire career as a wedding photographer.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm typically the one who is shooting the processional, so I'm the one who will photograph this moment, and I do it at every single wedding, and it never comes together as well as this one did, and so it feels extra rewarding.
It's true. It's the kind of shot that you really like at every wedding hope for, but you never know when it's going to happen, and it can be like a once in a lifetime moment, you know, and that comes together. So,
yeah. And you can't practice for it in real life, you know, like you get to practice it only when you photograph a wedding, and it lasts all of 5 seconds. So
that's part of the rush of being a wedding photographer, for sure. Yeah.
So that's on a technical level. And then on an emotional level, this wedding was on the same year that my dad passed away and my sister got married, and my dad passed away right before my sister's wedding. And so he didn't get to walk her down the aisle and give her away. And, you know, at this wedding, the father was super emotional and he was giving away his daughter. And so it was just a very, you know, close connection on an emotional level. You know, witnessing this moment just kind of, you know, just felt a little extra special.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. But obviously, when you're taking those images, you cannot think about those things too much, right? It just it pushes you even harder probably to capture those images.
Yeah, I don't think you think about it so much, but you feel it internally. Like, you get a rush, you know, in the back of your spine, and you maybe get tears in your eyes, you know, just because you feel like you're not thinking about it so much, but you can feel the moment for them, and then you relate to it yourself and you feel it as well.
Yeah, there's some kind of magic that happens there, I think, when the photographer is connected to the moment that's happening. And it maybe is subtle, but to me, I can see it in our images and I can feel it in other images sometimes. I'm like, there's a connection there. Like, it wasn't just taken for the sake of being taken. It was felt by the photographer. And I really believe that there's this kind of connection that can happen.
Yeah. Nice. So you also have a creative life class online. Are those things you talk about in the class as well?
Yes. So Creative Live was probably like one of the biggest things we've ever done in terms of having to sit down and prepare a 2-day class that's everything that we know about wedding photography. It was very interesting. We learned so much. It was one of the experiences that I think I grew from the most. It made me, yeah, just look at our work in a different way. And it's also, had been our 10 years since we had been doing weddings. So it was really like this look back on a decade of weddings, and it was pretty great. But yes, we do definitely get into the emotions behind being wedding photographers, how I think it's a good thing to be emotionally involved with what you're photographing. And then of course, like how we tell a story, that's the biggest thing to us. The most important thing to us in wedding photography is that we're storytellers. That means, sticking around the entire day and really showing every bit of the day, because it's during the unscripted moments that some of the most important connection will happen between people. That's where, emotions are high, and anticipation and nerves and all of these emotions just make for, people to have their guard down. It's not necessarily when they're standing up there exchanging vows that they're most vulnerable. It's the moments before or after. And that's what I really love about wedding photography. And our clients connect with that in our work as well. They're looking to be shown, they're for their true emotions to be shown. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a nice bridge to your next favorite image.
Yes.
Where you have a bride breastfeeding, and you're right in there.
Yes.
So probably got to have a good connection with a couple to do things like this.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I do have a really big connection with these people, because those are my sisters. That's my nephew, and that's our son Max, the older kid. Yeah.
Nice.
So I love this image because it is a personal connection for me. I love the scene because it's kind of random. You don't really know what's going on. Like my sister, who's the bride, is like, she's my half sister. So she's like the one who has sorry, I'm like, I have so many things to say about the photo that I'm like trying to get ahead of myself. So my half sister is the one who's breastfeeding, the one who's getting married, and my sister is the other one. So my sister is singing to my dad's band. It's the reception. So she's singing along and like cheering. And then my sister was breastfeeding, is hot because she's been dancing. My son is, looking at his cousin. The baby's looking at the bride. So it's just all of these connections happening that you don't know necessarily as the viewer, but that I know. So I am attached to it for that reason. I also, on a personal level, like my older sister, my half sister, we're not very close. We photographed her wedding. I had given birth to our daughter like a few weeks earlier. I was like, sure, I'll shoot your wedding, no big deal. So it was kind of a weird thing to be photographing. Yeah, well, it was strange because I'm photographing this wedding without being like fully the photographer, which is something that we've never really done, but it was a nice exercise, to be present as a guest while still taking pictures. And yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of photographers run into questions like that, or problems where they got asked by friends or family, and they want to be guests, and but they want to deliver as well, and create the best work possible. Did you find that hard to combine?
We've definitely, in the past, we photographed many friends' weddings, and we've always told them, like, we cannot be your guests and your photographers. We have to be one or the other. So some friends have chosen to have us there as friends, and some have chosen to still have us as photographers. And in this case, it was such a small, like very casual wedding. So, we're like, yeah, it'll be okay. We'll just, take turns, and it worked out for this kind of wedding. I wouldn't recommend it for a huge wedding or something like that. But.
Yeah, and I think over the years too, like we kind of learned, we've refined our formula, so to speak, so we feel more comfortable in more situations more quickly. So the challenges, we overcome them a lot faster. So even if we're holding one of our kids while we're taking photos, having done this for 10 plus years, it was definitely easier than, if we had been shooting just for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So you guys won quite a few awards with all your images. The Masters of Wedding Photography, but also a lot of other international contests. Besides from winning, competing in contests did for you? Like, has it helped you in any way developing as photographers?
That's a really good question because, you know, sometimes we get asked about what do contests bring us. And I'm like, it's not so much the contest that bring us something, it's the competing in the contest. You know, it's the actual act of going through your images and trying to choose which ones are the best or which ones are the ones that, you know, might resonate with people who were not at the wedding. We get so emotionally attached to some of our images, like the image I was just talking about with my sisters. But, you know, that doesn't make it necessarily a picture that somebody else will appreciate in the same way. So I just love that it allows me to spend a lot of time going through my images, and I have to be really honest with myself sometimes and be like, this one is not as good as I think it is. Or, you know, yes, I worked really hard. Yes, I did a good job considering, but it's not contest worthy.
And also like critiquing each other, like
Mhm.
we always pick our contest images together, and so you have to give the other one your honest opinion, and you have to be able to take it, so you kind of
Mhm.
develop a critical side, you know, towards one another in a good way, obviously. And yeah, just learning what works and what doesn't work. And I think without contests, we might not have this critical eye on our work in general.
Yeah, I agree that it's been a big part of us curating our own work and really like putting a microscope up to our images and being honest with ourselves about them.
Yeah. Well, I hear a lot of photographers say that they're not ready to compete in contests yet because they don't think they have the winning material. But don't you think it's more like a learning curve to when you start entering
Mhm.
contests, that then your quality of work goes up?
Definitely. I mean, even if you're just going through your images to decide what could be contest worthy, and if you narrow down those images and you see like, oh, well, these are my best images, or, you know, they're the closest, but, you know, they need to be a step, you know, or there's something missing to make it more exceptional. So it's just good to spend time with the images and really like ask yourself the right questions.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, has there been any photographers that gave you inspiration when you guys were growing as wedding photographers?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ben and Erin Chrisman, you know, back when we started in 2007, 2008,
Mhm.
they were doing documentary creative photography in a way that very few others were doing at the time, and
Mhm.
it definitely was a huge source of inspiration for us. And then over the years, you know, other photojournalists who don't necessarily even shoot weddings have inspired us just to how to document a scene and how to interact with what's in front of us.
Mhm.
Photographers like Susan Stripling on, you know, how to use light has been a big influence for us as well.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
like Daniel said, photojournalists have a way of just creating really interesting storytelling images in any scenario. So, you know, we're in weddings where the emotions are already there, you know, the material is already, the subject matter is already interesting. So if we can apply, you know, some of the layering or, you know, the storytelling aspects into our images at weddings, then, you know, we can have these winning combinations. I love how Steve McCurry like uses color in his images. A lot of photojournalism is in black and white, and that's really inspiring to us as well, as how, you know, and with the heavier editing that you're not necessarily used to seeing in photojournalism, I think it's great, and I love to see that.
Yeah. Are there any photographers that you would recommend others to follow at this moment?
Oh my goodness, tons. Um, yeah, I don't even know like
Yeah, I'm trying
where
to
to
think of where to
start.
start.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones.
so many. Yeah. Off the top of my head, it's like hard for me to even begin.
Who
Um,
do you follow on social media?
I follow my friends who are wedding photographers. Yeah.